Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. David Benavidez. First of all, how's everybody doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. David Benavidez moving up to 200 pounds. Listen, this thing about him fighting Zurdo, I got Benavidez winning. I just think the volume, I think cutting the ring off, I just think the pressure is going to be too much. But I got to stop here and be real. I wonder about his agility at 200 pounds. David Benavidez was fighting at 175. But this is the situation. Him stepping up to cruiserweight territory to face Zurdo, that's not just a move up in weight. That's a different physical world. Well, I'm trying to understand the weight gain factor. Now, if you're elite, you're elite, okay? If you're elite, you're elite. If you're a special fighter, you're a special fighter. And I'm going to say this. The whole weight gain factor, it may be simple to some of y'all, well, you're going from 175 to 200, because we know he walks around at probably more than 200. But it all sounds simple, but I think it's one of the hardest transitions in boxing. Because those guys at cruiserweight are really heavyweights. But some say David Benavidez is really a heavyweight, but he's not a 245-pound guy. Now, there are things that change physically, okay? Fighters don't just gain weight. They gain muscle mass, water retention, density. The problem is not all added weight is functional. Terrence Crawford is a good example of him going up from 154 to 168 to fight Canelo and putting on functional mass. Devin Haney is a good example of him from 135 to 140 to 147, where he fought Brian Norman Jr. He put on functional mass. But understand, not all weight is functional. So there's some key risk here for Benavidez. Could have slower hand speed, but he's worked on that in training camp. Could have reduced stamina over 20 pounds, but over 12 rounds, but you know has an expanded gas tank. But you just don't know when he gets in the ring, he's got this big man in front of him. If he's not able to have his way, you just don't know. It's the mind starts to go a little bit, then the body starts to go. And if that starts happening, you can see less fluid movement, and Zurdo could have some opportunities. But here's the trade-off. More size equals potentially more durability. But his biggest weapon is volume and pace. So if that slows down 10 to 15%, even that, which may seem, very small, right? It changes everything. He can't afford to have a 10 to 15% decrease in any of his strengths. And he's fighting a naturally bigger man. I know they have history sparring back in the day, but that doesn't matter. Zurdo Ramirez does have some advantages. The big frame, comfortable at the higher weights, experience against the larger bodies. Benavidez is going to know that shots don't move Zurdo the same way. I do think with Benavidez, he's all about the accumulation of punches, and that's where he's going to have a lot of successes down the stretch. But I wonder if he hits Zurdo with some shit, and Zurdo's like, I don't like this. Now all of a sudden they start clinching. What's going to happen when Zurdo starts clinching and David Benavidez feels this big, heavy guy clinching on him and weighing him down like Tyson Fury did Deontay Wilder? The inside fighting becomes more draining. But that's the style clash. Benavidez, pressure, combination, Zurdo, size, positioning, patience. This becomes work rate versus natural size. Now, the durability and power translation is a big question. Does Benavidez power carry up? A lot of us think it will, but hey, we got to be real. We don't know yet, okay? The reality is at 168 and 175, his power is accumulative, not one shot. At 200, that may become even less impactful. While Zurdo, meanwhile, is naturally... You think he's a heavier guy. His punches may be a bit heavier, but he's more accustomed to absorbing big shots. But I'm going to tell you this. I got Benavidez winning. A lot of people have Benavidez winning. We know Zurdo is a threat. But I don't think that's it. I think the bigger problem here is Benavidez cutting back down to 175. The thing about Dimitri Bivol, I mentioned in the early video. Moving up is where things get dangerous. Coming back down to fight Bivol, to cut 25 pounds, that's where it becomes even more dangerous, man. The weight cut reality, dropping from 200 to 175 means extreme dehydration, muscle loss, energy depletion, just all the things that Bivol's going to want to hear is happening with David Benavidez. It's going to make Dimitri Bivol lick his chops. They say, all right, you want to come down here and fight me at 175? Good for me, bad for you. Because you can see Benavidez, if he beats Zurdo and goes down to fight Bivol, slower reflexes, weaker punch resistance, reduced stamina, and gets outboxed. And that's the worst possible opponent to be compromised against is Dimitri Bivol. You cannot go into a fight with Dimitri Bivol compromised. Bivol has elite footwork, precision, he's efficient. He doesn't need you weak. But if you are, it becomes one-sided. And I'm just being honest with you. And I'm going to tell you this. Let's say Benavidez does go down and beat Bivol. I keep hearing, I didn't hear him say this. What I heard him say, he's not going to fight Canelo. And he doesn't think Canelo will fight him. But fans are saying this. Someone said Benavidez expressed willingness to still fight at 168. I didn't hear that. But on the internet, people make up shit, right? But there's no way in the world Benavidez is going to go down to no damn 168. Don't do it. Leave 168 alone in the rearview mirror. I understand if Canelo comes back in his fight in September and he beats Billy, he can't get Crawford to come out retirement. He says, I'll fight David Benavidez at 168. We'll give him $100 million. Benavidez is going to really look at that and he's going to think about it. But fans don't want that. They're like, yo, you're going up to 200 pounds, cutting to 175. You're going to try to cut again to 168. That's extreme weight cycling, man. You going to kill yourself? It's going to drain your durability, affect your punch resistance, it's going to impact your stamina. What are you trying to gain here? We all know Benavidez is a bad boy, but he won't be the best of himself coming out of 168. So I think it's a strategic dilemma. Benavidez is at a crossroads, man. I think option one, you just stay big. Fight at 175 to 200. Chase Bivol, Zurdo. Around that window is cool, but I still think, don't even go to 175. But if you go there, whatever. But the second option would be you do that, but then you say, I'm going to go fight Canelo at 168 if they offer me, 9 figures. But he risks being compromised and being unhappy. And, man, I just think it's going to be a Crawford-Spence type situation. But the issue is you can't optimize for both. You know what I'm saying? So for Benavidez, you gotta make a decision here. But I think going anywhere beyond or beneath 175 pounds, or below 175 pounds, I just think it's all bad. But Benavidez, him and Zurdo is a good fight. I got Benavidez winning. But I wonder about his mobility, his agility, his reaction time, his punch output, his stamina, what he's gonna have if he hits and hurt Zurdo and Zurdo starts to clinch him and now he's in these clinches with this big, heavy, strong guy. I wonder what happens. Because Benavidez is risking performance consistency, physical peak condition, and he's risking his career trajectory, in my opinion. But what he could gain if he wins against Zurdo, fights Bivol and beats him, and fights Canelo and beats him at 168, he could get legacy-defining wins, multi-division dominance, superstar status. I'm telling you right now, the truth, this is not just about one fight for DB. For me, it's about him managing his weight, understanding his timing, managing that right, and just trying to balance all that with legacy. Just collectively balance it all together. And that's one of the hardest things to do in boxing. But it's a dangerous gamble that could get him everything, or it's a dangerous gamble that could cause him to lose everything. But let's see what's going on here. I'm looking forward to this fight with him and Zurdo. I ain't lying. In the breeze.